Thank you for tuning in to 26 Sports. It's your host, Mike Redder. I'm on now live. First time back in a while. Been a little busy, but we're here to recap the entire 2021, biggest fights, best prospects, knockout of the year, and, just among other little things. Had a panel of a lot of different people, fans, media, people involved in the sport that gave me their choices for these lists. So I want to thank them for taking part of it, and appreciate everything they did. So without further ado, here we are. We'll start off with the picks, and then we'll go on to bring in our guests, who will also get into their little detail about their picks and anything else they want to talk. So go ahead and tune in and check it out now. So here we go. First, we're going to start off with the fight of the year as voted in a very close vote. It was between this and one other fight, but I don't think it's really going to surprise much people here. The fight of the year was Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder 3. Again, I don't believe it's going to really shock much people. This was really the fight that most people didn't expect it to be. If you listened to me before when I brought this up, I thought this had the possibility of being, the best fight of the three. Just thought that Wilder and Fury would put on a better fight than they had before. I thought there was just too much emotion and everything on the line here. And what we got was a great fight. We had 5 total knockdowns. Fury knocking Wilder down in the 3rd round. Wilder responding with 2 knockdowns in the 4th that looked at it might have ended the fight right then and there, but Fury was able to survive, take over the fight. Looked like he was going to get Wilder out of there a couple times, and Wilder just kept persevering, and pushing forward, showing tremendous heart, and then also hurting Fury until we finally got to the 11th round, and Fury ended it with a right hand that sent Wilder crashing to the canvas. But it was a great fight. Second fight on that list was Chocolatito versus El Gallo Estrada 2, which was also a great, memorable fight. They were both very close, as picked up here, but these are the ones that were, or this is the one that won the award, was voted most by everybody here. So, again, not very surprising. It was a great fight and it was a great night for everybody. Now we're going to go into Prospect of the Year. Now, this one, again, was a close one. There was a lot of good people to pick from. The 3 people that got the most votes will start from 3 to 1. We'll go here now. Is first up Jesus Ramos, a very talented fighter, stepped up, gave great performances this year, and legitimized himself as a legit contender. 3 wins, 1 by stoppage, continued pushing forward. He's undefeated. He's got a lot of skills. You could tell he's a legit fighter, and I'm excited to see where he goes for in 2022 and possibly sneaking into a title shot maybe at the end of the year. But he's definitely established himself, and he was, garnered a lot of respect throughout, as he was considered on this list by a handful of respected media members. So that was number 3. Number 2 was a lot of people's number 1, and I was a little surprised at this. But number 2 was Xander Sayas, Puerto Rican kid. He's very skilled, very talented. Was all over the place this year. 6 fights, 3 by stoppage. He won, and he continued to push forward and get better. He had one real tough fight this year where he was hit a little bit more than he was used to. Some people said, he was exposed in that fight. You know how boxing is, but he did his thing and he showed what he's really about. So he stepped up, did his thing. Definitely give him respect. But he was the second pick on that one. Number 1, and personally, this was my pick right here. Just edged out Xander in the total votes. Jared Big Baby Anderson. This man has really established himself this year. 4 wins, 4 by knockout. and a couple just vicious knockouts. I mean, his last fight, he absolutely froze his opponent with a punch in that fight against, or at the beginning of the year. I mean, it was the most viral knockouts that we had to start off the year. Did his thing again, as I said, pushed forward, and this man is legitimate and has put himself in position to be that guy coming forward. So respect to him. Jared Anderson is 26 Sports Prospect of the Year for the year 2021. Next, we're going to go on to Fighter of the Year. And I'm going to be honest, this one was pretty much a runaway. But a lot of people, when they did mention, oh, you know who my number 2 or number 3 person is someone that I have been following pretty much since he began his career. And I think this man is a legit fighter, a legit champion now. You know, nothing more you could say about the year he had. He really stepped up. He started the year as a worthy contender, and he ends it now as a unified champion. The one and only Stephen Fulton Jr. Beat 2 undefeated prime champions, and it's hard to discredit him. There is no way you can. This man did his thing, earned his spot, is a champion, no doubt. You could say what you want to say. You could try to discredit him. It's not going to work. Stephen Fulton Jr. definitely earned his position as a champion, and it's number 1 right now to me at 122. I got to respect everybody else that also has been calling and been giving him his credit. Twitter users, Rich and Ray Diggs, the brothers, they were calling this for a while. Both said it. I believe it was Rich Diggs who said that he had the second best year behind Canelo. I completely agree with him. So again, respect. And that was number 2 on our list. Number 1, obviously, Canelo Alvarez. I mean, what more can you say? The man went 3-0 this year, all 3 by stoppage. Yes, one of them was against Yildirim. We already know how that was set up, the mandatory and everything. No, he wasn't the best fighter in the world in Yildirim. But the other 2 were undefeated, legitimate fighters in Billy Joe Saunders and Caleb Plant. Both fighters had become champions, defended their belts before. Caleb was the one that many believed was going to give Canelo the best fight outside of possibly David Benavidez. Caleb did well, but Canelo again just exerted his power, his skill, and his will. Won, became undisputed in a total of 11 months, beating every champion at that weight class and becoming undisputed champion at 168. So for the year 2021, 26 Sports Fighter of the Year is Canelo Alvarez. Now we're going to get into knockouts of the year, and we're going to go from 4 to number 1. So you're able to tune in and watch this right now live. And this is number 4, our number 4 pick for knockout of the year as voted. This one was a very close get too, with a lot of different people picking. But this is number 4 this year for knockout of the year.
Gabe Rosado just put him flat on his face. It's a knockout of the year contender from Gabe Rosado. Rosado knocks him out with an overhand right. Incredible!
That was number 4, Gabriel Rosado knocking out Beck the Bully. Perfect overhand right. Set him up, pulled the trap, and knocked him out, just on the spot. Beck had already gotten a knockdown earlier in that fight. Looked like he was going to take over. Rosado, being the crafty veteran that he is, lured him in, landed that right hand, and it was all she wrote. Gabe took that victory to push him into a fight with Jaime Munguia later on in the year. Had a good fight, did lose, but he helped springboard him and show that he's not completely finished in boxing at all. Shows that he's still one of those fighters that you gotta always pay attention to. Again, Gabe Rosado versus Beck the Bully as number 4, 26 Sports Knockout of the Year. One more time, I'll play it.
Were you trying to use that word earlier? Big shot! Gabe Rosado just put him flat on his face. It's a knockout of the year contender from Gabe Rosado. Rosado knocks him out with an overhand right.
And now we're going to go to number 3. Again, this one was an upset, which seems to be the theme in so many of these ones right here. This is number 3 for knockout of the year. We're going to go all the way to the lower weight classes in this one. Let's take a look at this number 3 knockout of the year.
Until a highlight reel right hand and another one. And this time it is all over. 2 pinpoint right hands. One at the end of a round, one at the beginning of a round. And the rain, the short right.
And that was Kiko Martinez knocking out Kid Galad. A stunner because Galad had won the first 4 and 3/4 of the fight. 4 rounds and 3/4 of the fight. He had completely dominated this matchup. Once they got close to the end of the 5th round, Martinez landed that same shot that knocked out Galad here. Dropped him. Had him wobbled, but the round was ending. Obviously, Galad didn't recover enough as he got up and took another right hand, and this one ended the night. Martinez with the big upset right here. Jumped up, went crazy. The crowd was stunned, but Martinez had definitely earned the upset. And again, a knockout of the year contender on our list here. Kiko Martinez gets number 3 for 26 Sports knockout of the year. And now let's move on to number 2, another upset. And this one was one of my favorite knockouts in a long time. Let's take a look.
Face to Harper at the end of his contest, but she walks onto her right hand and she stands virtually stock still in the center.
And that was Alicia Baumgardner, who knocked Terri Harper out stiff cold in the middle of the ring. Like that perfect counter right hand. It was just so beautifully set up, so beautifully connected that, I mean, what more can you say? Harper was stunned, just frozen stunned. I mean, it was a great knockout. And, you know, what more can you say? We got to give Alicia Baumgardner her credit and respect for doing what she did, because now she's established herself as one of the best at 130 in the women's division. And she's going to place herself possibly for an undisputed shot, which I can't wait. Her and Michaela Mayer sounds great to me. Or her and Choi sounds great. Either or, let's get all these fights done. So 26 Sports number 2 for knockout of the year is Alicia Baumgardner knocking out Terri Harper. Number 1 is right here, and this is one of the best knockouts you may ever see in general in boxing.
Oh my! Explosive! Cap it, folks! That was human dynamite! Absolutely explosive!
And that was Oscar Valdez knocking out Miguel Berchelt in one of the upsets of the year and 26 Sports knockout of the year. I mean, that shot was just so perfectly placed. Valdez came into this fight as the underdog. Many didn't expect him to win. Many didn't expect him to look good, especially how he had looked in his previous fights where he had won, but it wasn't the Valdez that many knew. And we got into this fight, came out strong, knocked Berchelt down in the 2nd round, which had a lot of people surprised. And then he just continued to dominate the rest of the fight. Round 9, knocked Berchelt down again. And, you know, it looked over. And this fight got to the point where everybody started saying maybe they should call it, maybe they should stop it. Berchelt went to the corner after this, after the 9th round, and said, "A la verga, ya valió verga." Which, for those of you that don't know, he's pretty much saying, hey, this went to shit. This is over. This fight is done. His corner implored him to not say that, you know, continue to go forward and try. And he did. He came out after being knocked down in the 9th, came out in the 10th, and this is what he received for his troubles for going to continue on. So 26 Sports knockout of the year, Oscar Valdez knockout of Miguel Berchelt. So we'll replay the knockouts again one more time, and then we'll move on to bringing in the guests who will come on and talk about what they seen this year and what we want to see next year in the world of boxing.
Were you trying to use that word earlier? Ooh, big shot in. Okay, Rosado just put him flat on his face. It's a knockout of the year contender from Game Team Rosado. Rosado knocks him up with an overhand right. Incredible!
4 rounds until a highlight reel right hand and another one. And this time it is all over. 2 pinpoint right hands. One at the end of a round, one at the beginning of a round. And the short right.
Waste of Harper at the end of his contest, but she walks onto her right hand and she stands virtually stock still in the centre.
Explosive! Cap it, folks! That was human dynamite! Absolutely explosive!
And those were the picks there. So again, fight of the year, Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder. Prospect of the year, Jared Big Baby Anderson. Fighter of the year, Canelo Alvarez. Stephen Fulton had the second best version there, but Canelo did a lot. Fulton definitely deserves a lot of credit though. And knockout of the year, Oscar Valdez versus Miguel Berchelt. But Alicia Bumgarner also with her knockout of Terry Hopper. Kiko Martinez and Gabe Rosado's knockout, all legitimate knockout of the year contenders. Right now I'm going to bring in one of our guests today. We're still waiting on one more person, but we'll get in here. We got my man Marquise Johns, who's a little sideways on the screen here. There goes my boy Bud.
Let's flip that, my bad.
And everybody's in, so let's get you guys all up. What's up, guys? How y'all doing today, man?
Pretty good. What's going on, Boob?
Hey, what's going on? How you doing?
Pretty good, man. Pretty good.
Yeah, so just went through the whole list, man, of fights of the year, knockout of the year, prospect of the year, and fighter of the year. So after all the votes, I mean, I had you guys as part of the panel here. The fight of the year, close. It was by one vote. Was Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder 3, just edging out Chocolatito and Estrada. So how do you guys feel about that? Because, I mean, it was tough for me to pick, man. I actually went back and watched those fights a couple times. And I'm guessing, to me, maybe what gave me the edge to pick Fury and Wilder was the knockdowns. I think that's what pushed me over, was the amount of knockdowns. And then, as we've gone over many times, heavyweight boxing, man, it just gets you pumped. So, Bug, you know, what's your feelings on that? And I believe that was the same pick that you had, was Fury and Wilder, correct?
Yeah, I was going back and forth myself. And I think this is a combination of the whole event and the knockdowns and being heavyweights. I think that kind of won it for me, too. Chocolatito versus Estrada, that was a great fight, too. So it was kind of back and forth. It was between one of those two fights. So, yeah, that's why I went with that one.
Yeah. And the Marquis, same to you, man.
Yeah, man. For me, it was the event because I was at Fury Wilder 3, man. Like, there was the atmosphere in that thing in that fourth round when Tyson Fury got knocked down. You hear the atmosphere in that. This is unreal. It's something, honestly, guys. It's probably one of the coolest experiences of my lifetime, even regardless of boxing, casual fan or even reporting on it, man. It's absolutely insane. But the thing is with these two fights, man, you can't go wrong with either one of these fights. This is like we're picking like Fury Wilder and then like Bartholomew Easter here. I mean, it's a pretty solid fight here, so we're all right. So it's okay.
Exactly. And then for me, I wasn't there, but watching it at home, I just remember I had my nephew over, my lady was watching it, my dad was watching it, and after it, we were still like, yo, man, it was like this. Oh, it almost ended here. It almost ended here. It looked like it was over, but Wilder kept coming back. So I think maybe that's why it was just, I was still pumped up and hyped after like a couple hours. And I was like, man, you know, I need to do something. Like, I went outside, I started hitting the bag a little bit. I was just pumped up. It was a great fight. So I think that's what did it for me. Again, the Estrada and Chocolatito one, that was great. And that one, I think someone described it as, that was just seeing poetry in motion. That was beautiful technique and skill. But as you said, Boogman, these big guys hit the ground and then jump up. Like, all right, well, let's go. It just took it. So that was the pick here. But it was a close vote, man. So yeah, it was a great a great fight. And honestly, if you look back, there was a lot of really solid fights this year in boxing.
Yeah, there was. There was a lot of good ones. I think Fulton, he was in 2 good fights.
Yep.
Even Figueroa, he was in 2 good fights. It was a bunch of them, man. It was so many. Sometimes I lose count. I lose track of. I got to go back and either rewatch it or look at my notes or something like that. So it was a great year of boxing for sure.
Definitely. And I think Marquise froze over here. I hope he's not just.
Crap.
But then, prospect of the year, that was another close vote from everybody. I was a little surprised at who got third place here, because I thought it was really going to be just between a couple people. But Jesus Ramos got a lot of picks here. And I believe in him as well. But I just didn't think that many other people seen him that high yet. So, Boog, how do you see that?
I see him as a high prospect, but mine was Jerry Anderson. I think Jesus got a lot more growing to do. And he moved up to 154, so I didn't look at him as I don't think he really adjusted to that weight yet, so I didn't really put him on there. But he's definitely a future star and stuff like that. So we will see what he do this year.
Yeah, Marquise, even though you're frozen, man, how do you see Ramos? He might be coming back in a minute. Second place was Xander Sayas. I mean, I think everybody expected him to be the runaway consistently, but he got second here. He did get a lot of votes. First place, obviously, we just mentioned him. My pick as well was Big Baby Anderson. I think what did it for me, Xander, he fought 6 times, looked good. He did have that one tough fight in the middle of the year where he looked a little, not like himself, and he responded well to that fight. But to me, Anderson just continually picked up his level of opposition and looked better every time. I mean, the beginning of the year, he had that viral knockout. Then we go to the end of the year where he absolutely froze, what's his name, in the middle of the ring with that shot. And that was after destroying, I keep forgetting these guys' names, but on the Fury Wilder undercard, he destroyed, what's his name, in 3 rounds? 4 rounds, somewhere around there?
I think it was 2 rounds.
Yeah, it was quick, yeah. So
it was quick.
It was just, he looked better every time, so yeah, I couldn't say no on Anderson, so that's why he got my pick. So Marquise, we'll go back to you real quick. What do you see with Jesus Ramos? Marquise, you can't keep coming back in and freezing on me, man.
No, man, what it is, guys, sorry about that. There's a horrific snowstorm here. And the power here is actually all but kind of crapped out, actually. But where are you guys currently at
Ramos,
category-wise?
We'll go back to Ramos so you can talk about Ramos.
You know what? Jesus Ramos, I thought was pretty good this year. Actually, he's one of those prospects I think is going to be a problem at Freebridge 147 actually next year. The one person I thought prospect-wise that I liked a lot, that I think is getting a lot more credit everywhere he goes, pretty much for the most part, is Xander Zayas, is a guy, because I saw live at first in October when he fought on that undercard with Herring Stevenson. He's impressive, and he's bigger than what he looks on television, guys.
Yeah.
He's one that I'm going to keep an eye out for.
Yeah, and the one again that got the votes through the panels that I got was Big Baby. So what do you see in Big Baby?
I think maybe Big Baby's all right. What it is that, guys, we need more heavyweights in the U.S., period, point blank. I mean, I can rattle off, for some reason, Johnny Fisher's name, but when it comes to American heavyweights, we got Big Baby, and then so we have to really do something about that. I mean, there's a couple other guys. I mean, I'm joking aside, Guido Villanelli, stuff like that. But we need actual more heavyweights in general. And I do think the real Big Baby is going to be a problem. But I'm also looking forward to the other Big Baby making his way back to boxing somehow, some way in 2022, because he's been working out again. So that's going to happen sooner or later. It's a matter of if or when. Oh, Big Baby's been hanging out in South Carolina last 3 months.
Okay. So he's not around those big dudes that.
I mean, he's technically still suspended, guys, but, it's boxing. Yeah, so we'll see what happens.
So, I mean, and then for this one here, Fighter of the Year, pretty much we know who won it, right? Canelo. I mean, it's hard to say no there. But a lot of love that I seen getting, and myself included, and I'm happy for it because I feel last year his year kind of crapped out, Stephen Fulton. So I had to speak on him because last year he had his title shot, got COVID, had to wait. This year he made the most of his year. Taking out Angelo Leo, dominating him with his inside boxing, he did really well. And in Figueroa, I felt he won that fight. Clearly, it was a close competitive fight, but I felt he won that fight. So that's two big fights to go from contender to unified champion in 1 year. I mean, if it wasn't for Canelo doing what he did, Fulton would be my pick. So, Marquise, what do you see in Stephen Fulton?
No, I think that's the case, man. And it's funny that Canelo is still getting this Fighter of the Year award, guys, despite the fact that he fought Envy Yildirim. So that's just the power of Canelo in the sport and how much of a force he is at the end of the day. And to your point with Fulton, actually, I think really it is at the end of the day, guys. I think with Fulton and a lot of the guys at the smaller weights is we see the guys that have just more casual eyes keeping an eye on the lower weight class to keep an eye on these guys, because Fulton should be in this conversation a lot more than what he's being made out to be. Yeah. But Canelo's undisputed. Everybody else is really just playing second fiddle, honestly, guys. It's kind of sad on that aspect, but no, Fulton does need more conversation to talk about this.
Same to you, Boog. What you see on Fulton?
Yeah, Fulton had a great year. You know what I'm saying? He beat those two champions. He took their belt, too. That's underrated. Exactly. A lot of guys not taking the guy's belt. So, and I like him. You know what I'm saying? He's a real good fighter. You know what I'm saying? He's been developing real well to jump basically from a prospect to a unified champion in like a year. I mean, that's dope. So hopefully we'll see him in the undisputed match with MJ coming up.
Exactly. So as you said, Marquise, Canelo's fight with Yildirim, I mentioned that it's a wash. We'll call that a wash. But it's the fact that he went undisputed to unified, and then it's as Boog, as you said, he went with Fulton. He took these belts from his opponents. He didn't win a vacant belt. Canelo did the same thing. He took Billy Joe Saunders' belt, breaking his eye in the process. He took Caleb Plant's bout. So that's what made it close, but it's the fact that one became undisputed, one became unified, but Fulton still deserves to be in that conversation without a doubt, and I solidly put him at number 2. And if you put him at number 1, I'm not going to be mad because he deserves to be there. The other 2 fighters that I think could be mentioned, but I just don't put them on there, is because of the one fight that they had. Each is Josh Taylor and Usyk. Both fighters did really well, but it was just one fight. So to me, you have to have at least 2 fights to be mentioned as a fighter of the year.
Oh yeah, I agree with that. Valdez, if he wouldn't have tested positive, he was like the leader, maybe the first halfway mark of the year, but then he tested positive, so he kind of fall out of that. But with Usyk, he had a great performance over AJ. So you can definitely put him up there. And then the undisputed fight that Josh Taylor had with Jose Ramirez, that was a good fight. And I thought he won pretty clear. Yeah. So, yeah, those guys should get some looks too.
Yeah, definitely. And like I said, if Taylor would have had his fight with Catterall, was supposed to be, 2 weeks ago before he got hurt, I would put him in the conversation because he's probably going to win that fight. And he would be in the conversation. But having just one fight, I just can't do it. So that's for those picks. Now, knockouts of the year. That one was tough, man. I know your pick, Boog, and I actually had 2 people pick that besides you. But we went through the list as I counted over and over. I had a top 4. Number 4 was Gabe Rosado's knockout of Beck the Bully. Marquise, how did you see that knockout? Because it was a middle of the day knockout for us. It was in the middle of the day. It wasn't a late night knockout. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, and the fact that knockout of Rosado over Beck the Bully, I keep watching it over and over again. It's one of those knockouts because Beck ran into it, dude, yes. And it's like, this is no way to explain it. Like he ran into it, and it was almost cartoony in a way, but it's like it was. It's a good one. It's just that there's so many great knockouts this year, guys, and it's funny because I think even with your voting, man, because you know me, Mike, I'm a liver shiver guy, man. Yeah. Donaire's liver shiver of Gaballo this past month, man, should have made a lot of people's list, but time ran out. It's the end of the year, so it's just a lot of them up there.
Exactly. And then, Boog, how'd you see the Rosado knockout?
Oh, that came out of nowhere because I didn't think Rosado had a chance in that fight because he got dropped early in the fight, and it seemed like he was kind of retreating. But I did see him trying to set up that same shot that he landed, so he connected with it. It was crazy. So I think the shock factor is probably why a lot of people love that knockout. And then it was an upset. So yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah, it was like I mentioned. He lured him into that shot. He was, as you said, he was backing up, but you could see that right hand he was cocking it, and then bam. So yeah, he lured him in. it was an upset. I mean, Beck was supposed to fight Kovalev and all this and that, and he had all the hype behind him, and then Rosado just laid him out. So that was number 4. Number 3 was Kiko Martinez knocking out Kid Galahad out there in Europe. And to me, I love this knockout. Reason number 1, Martinez was getting stomped. Let's be real. He was getting stomped in that fight. For, was it 12 minutes and 50 seconds of that fight, he was getting stomped.
Yeah.
Then he dropped Kid in the 5th round, so like 15 minutes, whatever, 14 minutes. He drops him. Kid gets up. It's like, all right, let me go wipe this off, and I'm back. 6th round starts, and he's just like, what's up, boy? Bam! Completely annihilates him. And that one shocked me. And I was on my way to go see Rosado Munguia. So I'm watching it on my phone. I'm like, oh, shit. Like, are you serious? And it was, again, one of those fights where it was the shock factor, upset, which seems to be the common theme in the knockouts here, is the upset and shock factor and how quickly it happened. So, Bug, how did you see that knockout?
That was definitely a shock. I mean, Kiko was getting beat up. He was getting pieced up in that fight. And I thought Galahad was going to just turn it on, but he got caught with a big right hand, leaning backwards, and then he finished him off in the 6th. That was crazy. And that was unexpected as well, but just how he laid them out, it was nice. So, yeah, we'll see what's next with Kiko.
Yeah. And Marquise, how'd you see that?
No, guys, that knockout of Kiko Martinez over Kid Galahad is like when you play Street Fighter and you have like no energy left, but you have that one superpower and you run it and it doesn't block. That's exactly what happened to Kid Galahad because he was all but warped in that fight up and down, dude. And it's insane that he was able to pull that out. And it's crazy because we fought Kiko Martinez, guys, was dead 5 fights ago, and now he's an IBF champion in 2021. It's incredible.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I don't think you could have put it any better. It was just like, all right, let me try this one last time and see if I land it.
Got this fireball. Just hope he doesn't block it.
and that's why we've always mentioned you love boxing. It's the sport where you could score a 25-point touchdown, a 10-run home run, a 45 three-pointer. That's the one sport where you could do that one thing no matter how bad you've been getting beat, where you just catch it like that. So, that was number 3. Number 2, this one might be my favorite. I don't pick it as number 1, but this might be my favorite, was Alicia Baumgartner knocking out Terry Harper. To me, it was just, again, the shock, the quickness, and the actual result. The way she left Harper stuck, like just frozen. I commend the referee for jumping in and realizing, because if Baumgartner lands another one, who knows what happens. Because, I mean, when they flip that camera and they put that replay, Harper is, her body's there, but everything else was in another land. So, Marquise, how did you see that knockout? And, what was your reaction when you seen it?
No, that knockout's pretty amazing, too, because Harper, guys, you mentioned, Mike, Harper was out on her feet. It was like, pretty much essentially Harper's knockout was essentially the meme of when Louise knocked out Joshua in that 7th round upset that everyone kept putting on the internet over and over again. She was doing it in real life, and thankfully the ref for the UK surprisingly stepped in. We've seen these UK fights, guys, where these refs are kind of like, well, we get paid by the hour here. So thankfully he stepped in and ended that one, because that could have ended very badly on so many levels. But no, that actually really is a good one. And I'm glad on your list, Mike, people are paying attention to this, and they're paying attention to women's boxing to where that's number 2 on here. I'm a big fan of that.
Thank you. Yeah, and definitely. So shout out to everybody that took part in it, because I was surprised that got some votes like that, because it just shows that people are really paying attention. So, Boog, how'd you see that knockout? Because you pay attention to women's boxing, man. You be making some fights on your page that I see being made in real life a few months later. So how did you see it?
Man, that was a great knockout. It was a breakout performance. You know what I'm saying? We got another star in the making. And I thought she hurt her early in the fight with a right hand. And Terry Harper did good to survive. But the right hand, and the way she set it up, the setup was nice. You know what I'm saying? The way she jabbed to the body, then she feinted, then she threw the right hand. That was nice. So that's some next level stuff. And of course, she's like the breakout star. We're looking for more from her. She just signed with Eddie, so yeah, I want to see more of her for real, because that was a nice knockout, and it just kind of shook up her division. You know what I'm saying? So that was dope.
Yeah, and to me, I love that she won, and immediately she starts tripping at Michaela Mayer, who also it could be real. She had a really solid year as well, and her fight with Hamadouche was a great fight. Judges aside, that was a great fight. So
Yeah.
I want them to get that fight made. Hopefully, if it's not at the beginning of the year, maybe middle, late year, because that fight is hot now. Maybe one more fight in between to get it to its peak, and then have them go at it. Because I think that fight's going to be worth it, and they're going to make all the money in the world that they can with that one.
Oh yeah, for sure. And they got a storyline too.
Mm-hmm.
They can build the fight up.
Yeah.
So and it's 2 American fighters. So that's always dope. So yeah, I want to see that. I can't wait for that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then number one, I mean, obviously, Boog, as you mentioned, questions come up because of the failed drug test, but we can't say, oh, for sure, he was on something in this fight. But Valdez versus Berchelt, knockout of the year, to most people here, including us. I'm not gonna brag or say anything, but I mean, I called that. Marquise, you remember? I told you guys all Valdez is gonna knock him out, and next thing you know, he did. So that one again, upset, shock, more of shock of the fact that it ended up happening. But as you watched that fight live as it was going on, you're kind of like, oh, he's gonna get him at some point, or they're gonna stop it. And it was the violentness of the knockout. I mean, he was hit, face first crash. Boog, how did you see that knockout when it happened?
That was an excellent performance leading up to the knockout, first and foremost. I thought he was I think he dropped him early in that fight, and he was winning.
Twice, yeah.
Damn it, though. He dropped him twice, okay. So he was winning the whole fight. And based off his performances before, the Jason Velez fight, coming into this fight, I had Berchelt, so I ate pro on that one. But the knockout was nice. Berchelt ran into that hook. You know what I'm saying? I was seeing that replay over and over. So that was a great knockout. I just wish everything else wasn't so sketchy after that.
Yeah.
That way we can give him his full credit. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely. Marquise, same to you, man. How did you see it? Because, as I said, man, you guys were all laughing at me when I told you that was going to happen. So how did you see the knockout?
Mike. No, this was knockout of the year, and I gotta give credit where credit's due on this. That photo that Mike Williams took from Top Rank of that photo of Berchelt's neck sticking out before Valdez drops him is absolutely incredible, and that is why that picture is going to be seen everywhere. Granted, and Boog, I'm in the same pie of crow that you are eating as well with Berchelt, because before the weigh-in, I had Berchelt all day. I mean, we saw this is the Valdez guys we saw that had problems with Adam Blue Nose Lopez. No one in their right mind outside of you, Mike, was picking Valdez, to your credit. So I'll give you that. And that's why. And then once he lost, here we are. But yeah, that is definitely knockout of the year by far.
Yeah, and like I told you guys, once I interviewed him, the confidence he had and the way he told me things, I was like, I think he's going to win. And he was like, I got the plan set. I know what we're going to do. I know what Berchelt's going to bring. And then I started watching more fights, and I was like, the one thing Berchelt had an issue with was the left hook. And Valdez's money punch is a left hook. I was like, so if he lands it. And then once he described how the plan was, I was like, he's going to walk him into a left hook at some point. And then that's what happened. So, yeah, that was, man. And there's so many other knockouts that we could talk about, too. Obviously, probably the most violent one for the result was Callum Smith's knockout. I mean, that one was scary. DAZN took it off, off social media and everything because of how violent that really was. But there was so many knockouts we could talk about this year. Mauricio Lara knocking out Josh Warrington. That one was bad too. It was a great year for knockouts, and as you said, the liver shivers, Marquise. Can't wait for you to put the finishing touches on that one for this year, because those are some great ones as well. The Donaire one, Inoue, a lot of them this year.
And the Inoue one of this earlier this year was absolutely insane, and that's why I wish they would get Inoue more fights at this point. Yes. I really he needs more fights. I know he's part of everything with the pandemic and whatnot, but man, if they can find a way to get him out of there, he needs to be seen more often.
Definitely, yeah, and he deserves it. So, besides that, any other radar knockouts that you've seen, Boog, that you would like to talk about?
I think FP over Howard early in the year.
God, man,
that was crazy. He kind of turned him around with that right hand. Did a 360 almost.
Yeah.
I like Mark Marcelios.
That one was bad.
That was a bad one too.
Yeah.
Well, let me also throw in as well. UK it's being overshadowed because it was the same night as Fury Wilder 3. Troy Williamson knocking out Cheeseman was pretty good too.
Oh yes. Yeah. The one that I say, I mean, it's not on the level of those ones, but that was bad. Was the one recently too? Was Roddy Legend when he knocked out Martez McGregor on the Top Rank show?
Yeah, that was that was nice.
That was bad.
God, man, there's been so few knockouts where I'm like, yo, is he okay? Before I even like get hyped, and that was one of those ones I was like, can they pick him up? Can they make sure he's cool? Those were one of those ones. The Colin Smith knockout also had me like that. I was like, man, that was bad. Then I was like, yo, is that dude okay? I was like, man, he's just laying there. So. When Coercy, I want to say it was Leon. What was it, Leon Coercy or Richards? I want to say was convulsing on that knockout. That was rough. Yeah, that was tough to see after because you're just like, man, that was a good shot. Then you're like, yo, is he all right? Like,
yeah.
And then the most recent one, Marquise, to your credit for the liver shivers, was the DAZN one. I cannot remember the name. I'm blanking. The Frenchman, the one that started doing push-ups when he got his knockout, and the ref got mad.
Oh, Kevin Salado.
Yeah.
When he stopped Jack Cullen.
There you go. Cullen.
Yeah, the guy
that was a body shot, right? The left hook. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Because Cullen crumpled.
Yeah. Well, shoot. I think all of us watching it. I think we all.
Listen, I felt bad for him.
Yeah. Once I seen that, I was like, oh my God, dude. I was like, is he all right? I was like, God, man. So yeah. As we said, there was a great year for fights under the radar, knockouts, prospects. I'm gonna go with Book here. What's the first 2 or 3 fights you want to see in 2022?
I want to see Mayer versus Baumgartner. I want to see that fight. I'll take MJ versus Stephen Fulton, undisputed. I like that fight. And then I want to see. This is far fetched, but I want to see this: Andre versus Charlo unification at 160. I want to see that. I want to see that fight. I think. That's a fight. I know it's difficult with all the back and forth, but I feel like that's a natural fight. They can sell it. Both guys can sell the fight. They got history, and I think I would love it. So those are my 3 right there.
That should have been done. Honestly, as you said, it seems so far fetched, but it's not because they're both in the same division. They're both champions. They both need a marquee opponent. Get it done. So I agree with you. I've been wanting to see that for years. Not to the level of Chris Mannix, but I still want to see it. I'm not at that point, but I still want to see it. Marquise, same question to you. Your 3 fights that you want to see.
My 3 big fights. I think one was going to be made at some point this year. I think we get Loma Kambosos. I think Loma's going to be the highest bidder out of all this. The George Kambosos sweepstakes here. At the end of the day, I think we get that fight first. I'm looking forward to seeing Tank Davis for an actual live opponent. I would love to see this. I'm tired of seeing the remainder of the PBC B team here. I mean we've seen Gamboa, we've seen Isaac Cruz. I mean. Rolly Romero was an option for Christ's sakes. I mean, we got to do better than this, guys. For Tank Davis, I'm not for Tank Davis versus a live body. They mentioned Garcia again. Whatever. If that happens, it happens. Cool beans. But preferably Tank versus a live opponent. The third fight, actually, guys, I'm going to go off the radar here, and I want to see. For some reason, I really do believe Leo Santa Cruz is going to be a problem at 126 once he moves back down next year. And call me nutty, and I'm going to close out the woodworks here. I think Carl Frampton gets the itch at some point next year, guys. I want Frampton Santa Cruz 3 before it's all said and done, before my lifetime's done. So I don't know how we get it, but I want it. Maybe I'm saying 2017, guys, but I want that fight.
Yeah, you hear AB's finally dropping his mixtape, and now you're going back to Frampton and Santa Cruz.
Listen, guys, HBO Sports is coming back, guys. I'm telling you, or not.
Yeah. See, so now my 3 that I want to see Canelo Benavidez first, above anything else. I want that fight. That's my biggest fight that I want to see. Second, honestly, I'm gonna be real, is Mayer and Baumgartner. They've sold it to me to the point where I need to see them fight. Third one, I don't care when, I don't care how, I don't care if they have belts. Give me Wilder and Joshua. I need to see that. I don't care if they lose their next fight and they fight again at the end of the year. I want to see them two step in the ring with each other. I need that fight because I think that's going to be one of the most violent knockouts. Whoever gets knocked out is going to be one of them two. Is going to be violent. So give me that fight again.
Yeah, I'm with that. I think the first one who lands in that fight is the winner. So we don't
Yeah.
know right now. With both guys taking losses and stuff, we don't know which one they're gonna be now. So
But
yeah,
who would
I'm
you
with
say
that.
has the stronger chin out of them two?
You know
I
what's
would
funny is I
say
think Joshua has a stronger chin, but Water has the pop though. That's the thing.
I think
I
Wilder has a stronger will
yeah.
than AJ.
Yeah.
So if he get knocked down, I think he'll be right back in the fight. If AJ get hit by a right hand, it might be over. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think that's the
Yeah.
difference, maybe.
Yeah. I think Wilder's got it to where he's gonna get hit. He might go down and be like, all right, but I'm gonna be right back up and I'm gonna start whooping you. And I think Joshua,
Yeah.
if he goes down, he's gonna be like, man, if he hits me again, I might not get up. So yeah, I agree with you guys there. Now,
Yeah.
early, thoughts here. Who do you think is gonna be the fighter of the year 2022?
I'm
Hmm.
gonna say I'm gonna go with Inoue. I'm gonna go with him. I'm gonna say he's gonna get the unification with Donaire, and then hopefully if Casemiro get his stuff together, he'll get that one, so he'll become undisputed, and then move up to face somebody. In perfect world, it'd be the winner between Fulton and MJ. That'd be dope. So imagine he have that 2022 with those three fights. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Inoue.
All right, Marquise.
I'm actually going. Someone would say Pep. I'm actually going to go with Stephen Fulton actually because he's already halfway there in terms of 122. If he needs to ever have to, pretty much the winner of that Fulton Akhmadaliev fight, whenever it happens at 122, sooner or later, that's going to be the guy to keep an eye out for. And that's my stuff. Everything you just mentioned with the Inoue fights, and I still think Danny Roman sooner or later gets a shot, guys. He's the old one, and it's been like 3 years now. So the list goes on and on. Reese Alim, the name 122 stacked. So I'm looking forward to seeing all these guys work it out. And more importantly, 122, at least in terms of active fighters, we're at least guaranteed to see these guys at least 3 or 4 times, hopefully. So I'm looking forward to that too.
And I'm gonna agree with you. I was gonna say Stephen Fulton. I think he's gonna fight 3 times. I think he's gonna pick up another belt. And if he gets a no at the end of the year, that's it right there. That's it. I don't care what happens. That's it. The winner there is the fighter of the year. So I'm gonna go with you there too. I'm gonna go with Fulton. Now,
Yeah.
who's your guys' pick for prospect of the year next year?
Next year, because Top Rank assigned pretty much the entire Olympic team, I'm going to go with one of those guys, and I'm going to pick. Let's just flip a coin here. Only because they technically because he still qualifies as one. I'm going to go with Keyshawn Davis because they have him so listed as that. He's a force. So I'm looking forward. Grant, he's fighting under some loopholes, guys. It is what it is, but he's still a prospect that qualifies. He's going to win this.
That's my pick too. Is Keyshawn. But
Yeah, that's my pick too. But I'm gonna go. I like Keyshawn as a prospect, but I'm gonna go
Yeah.
with Dalton Smith on the UK. I think that kid can get into some
Yeah.
fights
oh yeah.
where he gonna start getting some
Yeah,
notoriety and become a
he can
prospect
crack.
too. It depends,
Yeah.
right? And he can box and do a lot of good things in the ring. So if they build him right and move him the way they've been moving him, I think he can get in that conversation.
Definitely. Now, I'm gonna go to a little bit of what Marquis said here. We want to see Tank against someone that's top live dog. I'm not gonna disrespect Cruz. I think it was a good fight there, but he wasn't really known. What do you think happens first? Tank gets that top 5 fighter in the weight class, or this dude Jake Paul actually fights a real legit boxer?
I
At
say
this
Jake Paul
point,
fighting a real
I think Jake
legit
Paul
fighter.
fights a real guy because there's too much money invested in Tank at this point. I think Jake Paul and Showtime would be like, all right, we can only do this for so long and before the jig is up. So I'm going with the latter.
And I'm honestly thinking, Tank's going to get that fight. I think Tank has so much pride. He understands what he's doing, what they're building him up to be, and what's going on. But I just think eventually he's going to get tired of so many people doubting him, running their mouth on him, that he's going to be like, you know what, just give me that dude. I want to fight him. I thought it was a possibility he may have fought, someone like a Jojo Diaz type of fighter. But Haney got that fight. I think he's going to get someone along that line of fighter. Personally, give me William Zepeda versus anybody at 135. I would love to see him against anybody at 135. Will they take it? I honestly think the only one that would is Tank, because I think Tank would be I could beat this guy style wise. I think Haney might want to take somebody different, or he's just going too hard for the Kambosos fight, which personally I believe he deserves. to risk with Cepeda. No way in hell Ryan Garcia is going to jump in there with Cepeda right now.
Yeah.
So I think Tank would be the one that gets that fight. Lomachenko is going to be doing the same thing as Haney and trying to land a Kambosos fight. So let's see it. I would love to see it, and I think Tank is going to be the one to take that challenge just because he wants to shut the critics up. So that's my pick. And if not, we're going to get Ron Boy Fresh versus Leonard Alabi on the undercard of that one. So I'm looking forward to it.
See, Mike, I don't know about that either, man, because even with Ellerby's been challenging Hearn for like 5 years, guys. When that fight hasn't happened either, man. I mean, I'm not saying that Ellerby's ducking these guys, but I mean, he keeps calling these guys out and nothing's happening.
Yeah, I'm gonna run the training camp for Ron Boy Fresh. We're gonna make sure he's in shape, bring in sparring partners.
Yeah.
We're gonna be good to go. So yeah, we're gonna take Lenny down.
But we got to know what the weight class is going to be and what's the drug testing setup. Is it going to be 12 weeks out, 6 weeks out, 8 weeks out? You know, it's going to be tough.
Probably just do the day before. You know what I'm saying? We'll do it like
that. It's solid 48 hours. We'll be all right.
Day before and then 3 days after. Perfect. Enough time. All right, man. So, thank you guys for stopping by, man. You know, Happy New Year to you guys. Hope you guys got a good one. Again, thank you guys for tuning in. Bug, go ahead, man. Let them know where you're from and what you got, your channels and your social media before we head out of here.
Yeah, I'm originally from Virginia, but I'm living out here in California. You know what I'm saying? I'm doing my own boxing, media, sources, all that stuff. I'm just trying to get in where I fit in. But you can find me on Twitter. Yeah, sausage. You can find me on Twitter at OverJ, Bug Williams. Hit me up on there. YouTube, L Does Boxing. Instagram, L Does Boxing. So feel free to follow me. Check me out.
Definitely. And then Marquise, go ahead and let them know.
As always, Big Fight Weekend is where you can find me causing all the chaos announcements with boxing media and everybody else, politely annoying everybody I come across one way or another at Weak Sauce Radio on Twitter. And pretty much looking forward to 2022, guys. I know COVID's coming around and kind of killed this weekend for the most part for a lot of things, but once all of this is all out the way and it warms up, it's going to be a fun year of fights, guys. We got women's boxing making a big statement. I mean, we're getting like 3 mega fights in women's boxing, for Christ's sakes. I couldn't tell you an idea when we're going to see that anytime soon. Dad, we're getting this closure on who Tyson Fury may actually fight again. I mean, apparently he's fighting again next year. I'm looking forward to that. Hopefully it's a live opponent and not my boy Agent Kayable, but we'll see. And nonetheless, we'll keep it going from there. But no, it's been a fun year, guys, and we're looking for better ones after that.
Definitely, yep. So again, everybody, thank you for tuning in who watched it or will watch it. This has been the highlight recap show on 2021. Look forward to being back more often next year. And from now, peace.